What's up guys, it's Roscoe Red and I'm here with the one and only Mama Red, and welcome to Make a Meal Monday. So during this quarantine period, I've realized that I wish I knew how to cook more things for myself, and what better time to learn more from my mom, who is a master chef, than right now. So I figured I'd take advantage of all this newfound free time that I have and learn
a little bit about cooking that he has no idea how to do. So
this is true. So hopefully over the next few weeks I'll learn how to make a lot more of the meals that I used to love as a kid that you used to make for
and
me.
there's not that many of them.
There's not that many of them because I'm a picky eater, but that's why I want to learn these things now. So today we're going to be making your famous meatballs and your delicious meat sauce that she usually makes. This is something that she would make like every other Sunday when I was growing up, and it was my favorite. So first, because it takes a little longer to make, we're going to start off with your sauce that you like to make from scratch. So what do we need for the sauce?
Well, to make sauce, and usually if you're gonna make it, you might as well make a stock pot full. And so you need a nice stock pot. He has a nice red sauce pot. Go figure.
Gotta stay on brand.
Okay.
You bought it for me.
A small onion, a couple cloves of garlic. I usually put in some beef, some stewed beef, because it just gives it more flavor. We use crushed red pepper, basil, oregano, black pepper, salt. I use a little olive oil when I saute the onions and garlic, and a large can of puree, a small can of sauce, just to add volume, and some tomato paste, and voila, you got a nice sauce.
Voila.
You let it simmer for a little while. Usually while the sauce is cooking, then I'll go mix my meatballs. By the time you're done frying those, you can pop them into the sauce. You can let it simmer for an hour or so, and you're done.
So that's exactly what we're gonna do.
So
let's get started on the sauce.
Okay, we're gonna put a little oil in the sauce pot. So I usually like to use olive oil to saute my onions and garlic.
Okay.
So you just want to put enough that it coats the bottom of the pan. Okay, as far as amounts go, I couldn't tell you. So you'll have to just watch me. Right now I'm cutting up a small onion. You just want to dice it kind of small.
Are you crying? Or any tears?
Oh, a little bit. Just a little bit. It usually cooks right down. You don't even see it, you know.
And then you just throw in the cloves of garlic as they are?
Yep. So now we're going to take this, okay, and we're going to put it on the stove, and you're going to saute the onions and garlic till the onions are translucent and soft.
Okay.
Down low, Chris. Okay, it's down low. Okay, so then you want, like, usually for these kinds of pots, you should really use like a plastic spoon, or you'll scratch these types of pots here. So you just want to make sure that, you know, that the oil and everything is all, you just want to saute those till they get a little translucent. Okay, so it's been probably about 5 minutes. The onions are getting soft and translucent. So now what I'm gonna do is get my beef, put the beef in there, season it up, and let the beef brown. Now you don't have to use beef to make the sauce, but I find that it's just much more flavorful if you use beef. As far as amounts of seasonings, I really can't tell you. I just kind of make sure I get the salt. I put salt all over the meat. Okay, go around a couple of times. We're gonna use some crushed red pepper. You're just gonna be generous with your seasonings because you're gonna put in a lot of sauce and some water and tomato paste, so it'll dilute all of this, but same thing with the black pepper. You're gonna be generous. The next thing I'm gonna put in is some oregano. And if you have any other seasonings that you like to use, you can as well. You know, you can make the sauce be to your taste. We put some oregano in. Okay, so now we're just gonna take the cover, we're gonna place the cover over the pot, and we're gonna simmer this on low. Just make sure you don't have it too high, you don't want it to burn on the bottom of the pan. Okay, so we're just gonna let that cook on low and watch it. So we're looking, basically it takes about 15 minutes. You can see how the juices are coming out of the meat is browning, and I think now that we're ready to put it together.
All right,
okay,
let's do it.
First thing I'm gonna do is I have a large The large can, it's actually 29 ounces of tomato puree. I like contadina. So we're gonna put this in, we're just gonna roll it around. Okay, we're gonna put it in. Okay, and put the cover back on. Now while you do this, you're gonna take some hot water. Okay, a can of puree, you're gonna put in a whole can of water. Okay, because if you don't, then your sauce is gonna end up being way too thick.
Yeah. And Is it puree or puree?
This is puree.
Okay.
Puree, tomato. Okay, so we put in a can of this plus a can of water.
Okay.
Okay, now I bought a small can of the contadina sauce. I just bought this to give this a little bit of volume so that he can get more sauce. So I'm gonna put that in. Okay, we're gonna add a little more water to that. Okay.
Was that about a half that can?
Yeah, it was about a half that can. So now I'm just gonna kind of start mixing this a little bit. Okay, I think it still needs a little bit more water. I guess what you could say is whatever can you use okay,
yeah.
Fill it up in with a can of water after. Okay.
Now she's looking like sauce.
Okay, so here we go. We're gonna let this come now to a boil.
Okay.
We're gonna raise it up a little bit. Once this starts to bubble and boil, that's when we're gonna put our tomato paste in.
Which are those guys?
Which are the small, this is concentrated tomatoes. Okay, this is what gives your sauce the body, and it'll hold and stick to the pasta. Because it's hard, you have to have the sauce really hot so this dissolves well.
Gotcha.
Okay, so now you can see the sauce is starting to bubble. So I'm just gonna start putting in the tomato paste, okay? Teaspoons at a time.
You kind of spread it around?
Spread it around the sauce because it's so thick and it has to dissolve in the sauce. Take 2 cans of paste and then we're gonna add 2 cans of water.
So basically every can of...
can that you use, I usually
fill with water.
Fill with water and add for volume. This is what my mother's always done. Okay, so I just kind of stir to make sure I get all that out of the can. There's one. There's another. Okay, it's perfect volume. It's perfect amount to be in the pot. You want to make sure you got room in the pot after when you have to put the meatballs in. So you don't want to have the volume too much. But I find that if you're using a regular sauce pot like this, whatever can you use of sauce, you add a can of water. I find that if you use like whole tomatoes and you puree them yourself, 2 cans of that is what I usually use, and I don't use water because they're a little more, but puree and this you need to add the water. Okay, and you can see that, look at the consistency of this sauce. Yeah. It's perfect, it's not too thick, it's gonna stick nice on the pasta. Okay, now what I usually do is once the tomato paste is all dissolved in here, I'm going to add basil to this. Now you could use whole leaf basil, fresh basil from your garden, but of course Chris doesn't have any of that. So we
I'm
got
sorry, who?
Roscoe Red. So we're going to be, nice. Basil gives sauce a wonderful flavor. So you're going to put that in. Okay, all of this will cook right away. You won't even see it after in the sauce once everything all marries together.
Oh, wow.
As the chefs say. Let me taste this and see if it needs anything. Okay, I'm gonna add now just a little more oregano.
So here's the thing, how do you know what you need to add when you taste it?
Well, I just want to make sure that it's not that it's got the flavors. I mean, you're adding all this water, so you have to season again lightly. A little bit of everything in again.
That you did in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Stir it up. What I do is usually take the sauce, I'll put it on one of my back burners, It's coming to a boil right now, so what I'm gonna do is lower it, okay? So it's just slowly gonna simmer on the stove, okay?
And you said for about an hour you leave it like that?
Well, we're gonna let it simmer on the stove, and now we're gonna start, yeah, usually I don't cook my sauce for any more than an hour, hour and a half tops.
Okay.
So, because you don't want to overcook it, because if you overcook it, it makes it bitter. Sauce, you'll see that the oils will come up to the top of the sauce. That's when you'll know that it's done.
Okay. Onto the meatballs?
Yeah, onto the meatballs.
All right, here we go. All right, so now our sauce is cooking, so we're ready to roll some meatballs. So what do we need for the meatballs now?
Okay, so for the meatballs, you can do this with a mix master. So we're gonna get the mix master bowl, 2 pounds of hamburger. Of course, you can double it if you want after, that's up to you. Salt, garlic powder, black pepper, Italian grated cheese. You can get this at Little Italy Imports. The best cheese you can ever get. Go buy it. He's got tons of things. It's a wonderful deli.
That's my brother's store, so go support him. We're always gonna plug him.
But he's got all kinds of stuff, and his grated cheese is the best.
The best.
And also I have here about 6 or 7 slices of Italian bread. It's probably maybe 4 or 5 days old. I took all the tops off the bread. We're gonna soak this in cold water.
Okay. And
of course we have eggs, and for 2 pounds of meatballs, I'm probably gonna use 3 or 4 eggs.
All right.
Okay.
Cool beans.
So
let's get started.
Let's get started. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna just dump the hamburger in our mixing bowl. We're gonna get that in there. All right. And now we're gonna get the bread, and now it's been soaking. I've got it soaking in cold water. Okay. So we're just gonna squeeze it. Squeeze the water out. Put the bread in with the hamburger. This is the way my grandmother made them and my mom made them. Now you can use breadcrumbs if you want. I just never have. So I wouldn't even know how to tell you how many breadcrumbs to use, but I use like 3 or 4 day old Italian bread. All right.
And now you get to have some fun, huh?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna kind of mix it in a little bit with my hand.
Get savage.
Yeah, savage. You know, you can also use the mix master for this, but I just don't want to walk away right now. We can do this all at the end. So we're just gonna incorporate the bread into the hamburger. Now we're gonna add our spices and things. And first and foremost, be generous with the salt, but not too generous.
Let's see what you do.
I just kind of go around.
Give it a good little coating.
Like 1 or 2 times at the top. We're gonna put in some garlic powder, and we're gonna be pretty generous with that.
Us Italians love our garlic.
Yep. And again, with the black pepper, I usually like to put a lot of black pepper. I like the black pepper to be flavorful. So like you see how I coated the top of everything, okay? I'm very generous with the cheese, okay? The cheese is what really gives the meatballs a lot of flavor. So I might put in maybe 2 or 3 nice heaping teaspoons of grated cheese. We're gonna put in 3, I think. Of course, you want to break them so you don't get the shell. Okay. So,
such a professional.
Yeah, no, not quite. Almost got the shell in there. 2, 3. I think we're gonna go with 4.
All right. And of course, kids, while you're cooking, especially during this time, wash your hands before you start mixing stuff.
Yes, which I already did. Okay, we're gonna take this over to the mix master. And if you want, you could really mix this by hand if you like, but we're gonna save some time and use Roscoe Red's red mix master.
And this is the first time since in the 2 years that I've been in this house that I've ever used this mix master. Okay. So finally, she's getting her day. Oh yeah.
You just let it mix slow. You don't need to go fast with it.
There we go.
All right, there it is. All mixed up, ready to roll.
Perfect.
So usually before I start frying the meatballs, I put some canola oil maybe about 1 inch up in the bottom of this frying pan. And I have it on about medium high. So I'm heating up the oil as we're gonna roll the meatballs, so that when you put the meatballs in, the oil's nice and hot and ready to go. Okay? So you're just gonna grab probably about that much. And you're gonna just start rolling.
Like a golf ball size?
Yeah, that or a little bit bigger than that.
So big golf ball size?
There we go. Because they shrink a little bit when you cook them, so you don't want them to be too small. Okay.
I remember when I was little, I would always watch you rolling these and I would get excited on Sunday mornings.
Now I got Sam and Cooper doing the same thing.
Yeah, the dogs, they salivate, they know.
They know when I'm making meatballs and they show up.
This reminds me of the bubble bread.
Everything with Italians is balls.
Balls, yeah.
I don't know why that is, but we're always rolling balls.
You know what they say about Italians? We got a lot of balls.
Everything's about balls. 2 pounds is good, and sometimes I do 3 pounds, you know, so I just add a couple more slices of bread and maybe another egg and a little more of everything else.
Yeah, depending on how many people you're cooking for,
depending on how many, you know, you're making. A lot of times these, after you freeze them, if you put them in a freezer bag, they freeze wonderful.
Yep.
They freeze great. You
perfect.
can take them out if you feel like, you know, I don't like to freeze the meatballs in with the sauce. I just keep them separate.
You heat them up for about a minute and then you turn them over and do another 30 seconds and they're
in the microwave.
They're
great.
perfect just without sauce, just to eat. They're great. All right, good old 28 balls there. Yeah. That's a lot of balls.
That's pretty good. All right, so now I just kind of just grab them and kind of just re-roll them in my hand a little bit.
At this point,
and start setting them in. And I have my oil hot, but not super hot. You want the meatballs to
you're on about midway on the heater, right?
I'm on about 3 or 4, yeah. Medium high.
And you just let them fry.
I'm just gonna let them go in there. They smell so good when they're frying.
Yeah, how's the sauce doing?
Pretty good. Looks good. Okay, as you see, they're starting to lose their pink, you know, the redness. They're kind of turning pink. So that's telling me they're kind of cooking through. So I'm going to start roll. Just get a fork. See how nice they're brown?
Ooh.
So we're going to turn them one by one. We'll let them cook on the other side, and then we'll know for sure they'll be cooked through. Okay, just check them. They look really good on the other side. So I'm going to take this batch out. Actually, we're going to pop these in the sauce. Because meatballs flavors sauce great too. I'm just going to put in a dozen in here. And the rest we'll put out so Chris and I can have something to eat. I'll stir those in a minute.
Yeah, so basically we put a bunch in the sauce to eat like with the sauce, and then we save the rest of them for later so that it's a nice little snack.
Yep. So we'll put the second half in, just like we did the first half. Just give them a quick roll because they kind of lose their shape sitting for a while. On the nice DJ Roscoe red cutting board that Zach bought them.
Yep.
It's great, I love it. Perfect.
Good little Christmas present. So do you plop them on top of one another so they don't splash?
I don't want to splash myself. So I just kind of like, so I don't burn my fingers. And it's funny because you just shake the frying pan and they'll fall down. And they'll just go down where they belong. Just move them around with a fork. There we go. The second time, like, you'll get a lot of bubbling. That's from the egg and the mixture that gets into the oil, and the second time you put them in, you'll get a lot of foaming. So just don't keep it's so hot and it won't boil over.
All right, so basically we're gonna let these finish. We're gonna let the sauce finish. I think we're gonna cook up some rigatonis with it and then we'll be done, huh?
Yep. Well, you can see how it starts to bubble up and you get that little crust on the top, and then you know that it's kind of ready. Cool. So. And it's been cooking for what, about an hour and a half.
And voila, ladies and gentlemen.
There you have it.
Decided to throw some rigatoni's in there. You can make this with any sort of pasta, right? Rigatoni's,
spaghetti,
cavatellis, yeah.
linguine, whatever you like. But we did mezzo rigatonis, which are the half rigs. These are really good. And bon appetit.
Meatballs, some grated cheese on top with the sauce.
Done.
There it is. We're about to chow down. So you guys try this yourselves. It's a very easy thing to do. And if you want that authentic Italian dinner during this quarantine period,
there you go.
Here's your good start. So thank you guys for watching so much. Mom, thank you for teaching. And we'll be back next week with another dish.
There you go. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.